The Haunting wasn't just another psychological horror classic. It was a film that broke its lead actress. A film shot in a house so disturbing, crew members refused to stay after dark. And somewhere in the MGM vault, there are takes that never made the final cut. Footage that pushed too far. Scenes that made test audiences physically ill. Director Robert Wise knew exactly what he was doing. He found a real location with a dark history, hired actors willing to suffer, and created something that still gets under your skin 60 years later. But the version you've seen, that's the safe version. These are 12 creepy facts about The Haunting, and hidden in them is the shocking truth about what the studio buried to protect audiences from a movie that went too far. Number 1. The house was already haunted before filming started. Robert Wise didn't want a Hollywood soundstage. He wanted something real, something wrong. He found Eddington Park in Warwickshire, England, a Victorian Gothic mansion with a body count. Reports say at least 2 deaths occurred on the property over the centuries. Locals claim to hear crying from empty rooms. Some crew members reported cold spots that moved through hallways on their own. Wise loved it. He told the cast this was their home for the next several weeks. Julie Harris later said the building felt sick, like it was watching. The production rented it for a fraction of what a studio build would cost. That's the trick. Wise got authenticity and saved money. But some of the crew wondered if they'd brought something back with them, because the strange events didn't stop when cameras rolled. Number 2. The walls were built wrong on purpose. Here's what most people don't realize. Robert Wise hired production designers to make the interior sets slightly off. Ceilings were lower than normal. Door frames tilted by degrees you couldn't consciously notice. Floors had subtle slopes. The angles were just wrong enough to trigger discomfort without you knowing why. Your brain senses something's broken, but you can't name it. Wise studied psychology before this. He knew how to weaponize architecture. The set designers reportedly hated working on it. Everything fought against their instincts. One carpenter said it felt like building a trap. The cold concrete floors didn't help. Neither did the deliberate lack of right angles in certain rooms. When Julie Harris walked through those halls, her anxiety was real. The space was designed to create it, and that anxiety bled into something even darker. Number 3. Julie Harris wasn't acting. She was unraveling. Harris played Eleanor, a woman on the edge of a breakdown. But here's the scary part. According to production accounts, Harris used method techniques that pushed her toward real psychological distress. She isolated herself from the other actors. She stopped eating full meals. She wandered the Eddington Park grounds alone at night. Wise reportedly encouraged it. He wanted that fragile, fractured energy on screen. Some crew members grew concerned. Harris would mutter Eleanor's lines to herself between takes, standing in dark corners. By the final weeks, the line between actress and character had blurred. The famous scene where Eleanor whispers, "Whose hand was I holding?" That terror in her voice? Some say it wasn't performed. It was remembered. And her relationship with one co-star made everything worse. Number 4. There was real tension between the 2 leads. Claire Bloom and Julie Harris did not get along. That's not gossip. It's documented. Bloom played Theo, a sophisticated, confident woman. Harris played Eleanor, fragile and desperate. Their characters clashed. So did they. Reports say Harris felt threatened by Bloom's ease on set. Bloom found Harris's method approach exhausting. The coldness between them wasn't scripted. Wise noticed, and he used it. He rarely let them rehearse together. He wanted that friction captured raw. In their shared scenes, you can feel the edge, the discomfort, the way Eleanor flinches from Theo's touch. Some of that was character work. Some of it was genuine avoidance. The bedroom confrontation scene took multiple takes because the energy kept shifting. Too hostile, then too distant. Wise pushed until it balanced on a knife. But the real battle wasn't between actresses. Number 5. The censors almost killed the movie. Here's where it gets weird. Haunting has a lesbian subtext between Theo and Eleanor. In 1963, that was dangerous territory. Bloom's character was clearly coded as gay. She flirts, she touches, she watches Eleanor with something more than friendship. The production code censors flagged it immediately. MGM panicked. They demanded cuts. Wise fought back. He argued the relationship was ambiguous enough to pass. Just suggestion, never explicit. The back and forth went on for weeks. Some footage was reportedly trimmed, lingering glances shortened. The version released walked a razor's edge, just queer enough to unsettle 1963 audiences. Just vague enough to survive the censors, but somewhere there might be a longer cut, one that went further. And the tricks Wise used to avoid showing anything weren't just clever, they were revolutionary. Number 6. Robert Wise had one unbreakable rule. No ghosts, ever. You never see a supernatural entity in The Haunting. Not once. That was Wise's line in the sand. MGM pushed him to add a spectral figure in the climax. Something for the poster. Something audiences could point to. Wise refused. He believed horror lived in what you couldn't see. In sounds, shadows, suggestions. The studio sent memos. They threatened budget cuts. Wise held firm. He said showing the ghost would kill the movie. The audience's imagination was scarier than any rubber mask or optical effect. Test screenings proved him right. Audiences reported the film felt more real because nothing appeared. Their own minds filled the darkness. That restraint became legendary, but it meant the terror had to come from somewhere else. It came from sound. Number 7. The sound design broke new ground, and possibly some equipment. The noises in The Haunting aren't random. They're engineered nightmares. Sound designer Tom Howard layered effects that didn't exist in nature. Deep bass rumbles beneath human hearing range. That's called infrasound. It causes physical unease. You feel sick without knowing why. The famous banging on the doors? Reportedly, a mix of industrial machinery and slowed-down animal sounds. Howard worked for weeks in an echo chamber, recording and distorting. Some masters were allegedly lost because the original tapes degraded. The equipment wasn't built for those frequencies. One sound technician claimed the playback sessions gave him headaches for days. Buzzing light, pressure in his skull. When you watch The Haunting in a theater, you don't just hear the horror, you feel it in your chest. And one scene required something even more physical. Number 8. The breathing door almost didn't work. You know the scene. Eleanor and Theo huddle in bed. Something pounds on the door. Then the door begins to breathe. It warps inward and outward like something massive is pressing against it. No CGI. No digital trick, just practical effects in 1963. Here's how they did it. Reports say the crew built a special door with flexible panels. Crew members behind it pushed and pulled in rhythm. The lighting was angled to emphasize the distortion. It took over a dozen takes to get the timing right. The wood groaned under the pressure. One panel reportedly cracked during filming. They had to rebuild overnight. Julie Harris watched from the bed, and according to crew accounts, her reaction was genuine surprise. She hadn't seen the full effect in rehearsal. That fear transferred to film. But another scene required even more physical danger. Number 9. Julie Harris climbed that staircase herself. The spiral staircase sequence is terrifying. Eleanor ascends a rickety iron structure toward the library. It sways. It creaks. The drop below is real. No stunt double. That's actually Julie Harris climbing. Wise wanted authentic vertigo. He got it. The staircase was a genuine antique at Eddington Park. Production reinforced it, but crew members were nervous. One wrong step meant a fall of over 20 feet onto concrete. Harris reportedly shook throughout the filming. The metal was cold against her hands. The handrail rattled. Wise shot multiple angles over 2 days. Each climb drained Harris more. You can see it in her performance. The exhaustion, the brittle edges. She wasn't faking that fear of falling. After the final take, she allegedly sat on the floor for 10 minutes, just breathing. And the physical toll wasn't the only danger. Number 10. Crew members reported strange events off camera. This part is harder to verify, but it keeps coming up. Multiple crew members later claimed odd experiences during the Eddington Park shoot. Tools moved overnight. Doors opened when no one touched them. Some reported hearing footsteps in empty corridors late at night. Cold air in rooms without drafts. One electrician allegedly quit after a week, saying he felt watched constantly. Were they real supernatural events? Or just nerves in a creepy location after long shooting days? We don't know. But Wise reportedly never dismissed the stories. He used them to keep the cast on edge. If the crew believed something was wrong, maybe that tension would transfer to the film. It did. The Haunting feels haunted because everyone making it wondered if it was, and the ending almost reflected that uncertainty. Number 11. There was an alternate ending that went darker. Here's what most people don't know. The original script draft had a different conclusion. Instead of Eleanor dying in a car crash, she was to be found inside the house, absorbed. Part of Hill House forever. The final shot would have been the house exterior, with a shadow moving behind Eleanor's window. Watching. Wise liked the idea. MGM hated it. They said it was too bleak, too ambiguous. Audiences needed closure. The car crash provided that. Eleanor's death became an accident, not a possession. Some reports suggest test footage was shot, a version where Harris stands frozen in the nursery, eyes blank, while the camera pulls back through the door. If that footage exists, it's locked away. Never released, never acknowledged, and that's the pattern with this film. Number 12. Lost footage may still exist somewhere. The Haunting's final cut runs 112 minutes, but production logs reportedly show more material was shot, extended takes, alternate angles, scenes trimmed for pacing or censorship. Where did they go? MGM's vault system in the 1960s wasn't perfect. Materials got mislabeled, lost in storage transitions. Some masters deteriorated before preservation efforts began. Collectors and archivists have searched for extended Haunting material for decades. Occasionally, rumors surface. A German print with extra seconds, a screening copy with a different sound mix. Nothing confirmed. Robert Wise passed away in 2005 without ever acknowledging a longer version. Maybe there isn't one. Or maybe, somewhere in a cold storage facility, there's a reel labeled wrong. Waiting. A version of The Haunting that went further than anyone was allowed to see. That's the truth about The Haunting, a movie that became legendary because it almost wasn't. Studio interference threatened to gut it. Censors tried to sanitize it. The lead actress suffered for it, and the director fought every step to preserve his vision of horror through suggestion. 60 years later, it still works. Because Wise understood something Hollywood keeps forgetting. What you don't see is scarier than what you do. The breathing doors, the impossible angles, the sounds that crawl under your skin. Hill House wasn't built by carpenters. It was built by fear. And some of that fear might still be locked in a vault somewhere, waiting for someone to open the door. Thanks for watching. Hit like, drop a comment with your favorite fact, and subscribe for more creepy movie secrets.